Namaskar Sathiyo. Today we are going to discuss about political thought and you are tuned to Dr. A.K. Verma Talk Politics channel. In our day-to-day life, we are using the word political thought. But at the same time, we are also using several other terms like economic thought, cultural thought, religious thought, social thought, and so many other thoughts we are using. So, are we clear about what the political thought is all about? Before this, let us first concentrate on one thing, and that is what is a thought? If you concentrate on this word thought, the immediate thing which comes to your mind is your rational faculty, which is your brain. And when your brain gets activated and is interacting with something, some imagination, some object, some visuals, or even in some abstract manner, you are thinking about something, then you are producing what is called a thought. And therefore, a thought can be of varied type. It can be cultural when it is talking about culture, where could be religious, when it is talking about religion, and it can be about social matters, then it becomes a social thought, and so on and so forth. But the question is that when your thought becomes political, that's the central question. And here we have to be very clear that our thought becomes political as soon as our object of imagination, our object of thinking and interacting with our rational faculties is the state. And therefore we can say that whenever you are thinking about the state, then your thought becomes political. That is the first central point that we have to remember. Secondly, the issue is that when I say that when we are thinking about the state, the question is obviously what the state is all about. What is the concept of the state? And as we all know, that a state is, whenever we are talking the state, we have an abstract entity in mind, and we call that the entire society has politically organized in an entity which we call the state. And therefore a state is an abstract political entity, but a state has certain ingredients, like it has the government, and the government itself then again is divided into three components like the legislature, executive, and the judiciary, and each of them have certain powers and certain processes they have to follow. And then it becomes known to all of us that what laws they have government has made, what policy decisions the government has taken, and what how the government is going to adjudicate through judiciary. So framing laws, executing them, and adjudication over those laws, these all are components of the government. And therefore when you are thinking about the state, you are also thinking about the component of the state or the concrete manifestation of the state, which is the government. And when we say that we are thinking about the government, obviously then we can be thinking about the legislature, we can be thinking about the executive, and we can be thinking about judiciary. But again, since India is a federal country and there are so many other federal countries, in federal countries, when you say that state, then not only the government at the center comes into your mind, but the government at the peripheral level, government at the state level, provincial level, that also comes into your mind. So we can be thinking about the government at the union level or central level, but we can also be thinking about a government at the state level. And after 73rd and 74th amendment of the constitution, we can also be thinking about the government at the tertiary level. And therefore whenever you are thinking about the state, you are thinking about the entire apparatus of the state. And the moment you are thinking about the entire apparatus of the state or a part thereof, your thought becomes political. So that's the second thing that we have to remember, that your thought becomes political the moment you are focused on state. And when you say that you are focused on state, you have to be focused on any or all or many components of what constitutes the state. So that's the second thing. And finally, that when somebody quizzes you that what exactly you are thinking about the state, what are the areas on which we shall be thinking, and our thought becomes political. So here I will like to refer a very important book which is called Political Thought by C.L. Weber. And if you get a chance to read that book, please read it. It's a very lucid book. And in that book, Political Thought, C.L. Weber has very, very lucidly explained what is a political thought. And he says that a political thought is thought about the state. Of course, that we have discussed. But what is state? Its origin, its structure, its nature, and its functions, and its relationship with the individual. So these are the five ingredients that you have to be focused on when your thought becomes political. Now, a state origin means how the state originated. There are so many theories of state which we in due course of time we shall be one by one taking them up. It can be a divine origin of the state, it can be contractual origin, it can be evolutionary, and so on and so forth. It similarly, the structure of the state can differ from thinker to thinker. Somebody would define structure state in a different manner. Others would like to structure state in a federal manner or unitary manner or semi-federal or quasi-federal manner. And therefore the structure of the state or the structure of the government also becomes a very important issue. So origin of the state is one, structure of the state is another, and then what the functions of the state, many there are many theories. Then what the state should do, what are the functions of the state. Some would say state should be limiting or not doing anything at all except law and order and keep away from the day-to-day life. Other would say no, the state should come in and do a little bit of welfare activities. Other would say state would be required to do more and more intervention in the life of the society and the individual, so that the entire society, and especially the poor and the marginalized, they are taken care of. So there would be many theories about the functions of the state and the scope of the functions of the state. That is a different thing, and we shall be talking about that in due course of time. And finally, that what is the nature of the state, whether state is a machine or whether state is a divine thing, or the state is an organic thing, or what is the nature of the state. That is also our object of inquiry when we are talking about political thought. So political thought is thought about the state, its origin, structure, nature, and functions. And finally, you are also indulging into political thinking or producing political thought when you are discussing the relationship between the individual and the society. Because this is the central ethical question in the state. When the state was constituted, when the state was formed, the centrality was the individual. The individual was central to the entire evolution and formation of the state, because the individual life, as Hobbes Rousseau would probably say, was inconvenienced in the state of nature, and to end that inconvenience, the state came into existence, and this state then became a powerful agency in the entire society, vested with sovereignty. So, sovereignty or empowerment of the state is one thing, but the individual is also an equally important component in the state for which the state agency was formed, and therefore, there has to be a balance between the individual liberty and rights on the one hand, and the authority and power of the sovereign state on the other. So whenever you are inquiring on this equation, that how much power should be given to the state and how much liberty and right should be given to the individual, then you are producing a political thought, then you are indulging into political thought. So all these things, they when you are, so to sum up, a political thought is a thought about the state, and is any or a state agency. And then when you say that political thought is thought about the state, then it should be thought about the origin, structure, nature, and functions of the state, and nothing else. And of course, the relation between the individual and the state. So this is in a brief manner we can understand political thought. Later, we shall also focus on how this political thought is different from political philosophy, it's different from political ideology, and so many other concepts that we shall be taking up later on. Thank you very much.